Welcome back to Joy of the Hang, Connecting Through Conversation. I'm your host, Sharon Stevenson. Today's conversation is for every woman who's ever thought, how am I supposed to do all of this and still feel like myself? My guest, Christiana Engert, interior designer, business owner, wife, and brand new mom. On the outside, it might look like she's balancing it all beautifully. But today, we're pulling back the curtain on the real story, the emotional shifts, the relationship adjustments, and the identity stretch that comes with building a business while building a family. We're talking about partnership, communication, mom guilt, ambition, and what happens when the life you dreamed of arrives and it still feels overwhelming. This is a conversation about connection with your partner, your purpose, and yourself in one of life's most transformative seasons. Christiana, I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
Welcome.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to talk about this.
This is such an important topic. We were just talking off air before we started recording that this is really something that a majority of people all over the world go through, this stage in your life where you're just about to start a family. You started your career, right? Yeah. I mean, a lot of us go through it. There are several that choose not to, but the majority of people are going to have a family at one point or another. And I love that you're willing to be vulnerable and open about what this phase has brought you so far. So let's get right into it. Take us back to those early weeks of motherhood. What surprised you most emotionally?
Well, I'll tell you, this might come as a surprise. I was not ready to deal with any of it.
What? What do you mean?
So when I took the pregnancy test, I had my suspicions. I'm like, something's not right. My boobs are hurting. Things are happening. When I took the pregnancy test, I was in complete shock. Like, this can't be real. Were
you trying to get pregnant?
Not yet.
Okay,
we were open to it, but
Right.
there was kind of a timeline we had in mind. But of course, no one knows if that it could take longer, so we were kind of open to it. I guess for that year. I just had my daughter in October. So we were kind of open in 2025. We were going to think about trying or, pick a date. We were thinking later in the spring. Well, I found out I was pregnant around this time last year.
Okay.
So I actually was on a really nice little vacation with my parents. We decided to go to Key West, and just coincidentally, when we got back from Key West is when I found out I was pregnant. Thank goodness I didn't throw up on a boat or anything. That would have been I had no idea.
It would be the first time, and people throw up on boats.
I guess it's true. Like, my parents would have been like, "What's going on with you?"
Yeah.
So there were a few indicators that I was like, something's up. This isn't normal.
Yeah.
These aren't normal symptoms that I get coming towards a period or anything. So I hadn't really missed my menstrual cycle yet. So anyway, I just happened to have my annual exam, and I said, I think something might be up. We did do a pregnancy test. I'm pretty sure it's wrong. And then she goes, "Oh, yeah, you are definitely pregnant."
Okay.
And so she goes, "Are we happy? Are we excited?" I'm like, yeah, I think we are.
Let me check.
And Sharon, we were just talking about this. I am type A. I am very much predictable. We have control over the things. The variables are all in check. And being a business owner and an entrepreneur, I have clients who, are relying on me with the timing of their homes, the schedules that, I need to follow with my work as an interior designer. Can't throw that out the window. So that was something else that was kind of like, wait a second, I just signed on X amount of clients and they're all like, where does this put me with conflict?
Yeah.
So of course I'm freaking out, calling my husband in the parking lot of the hospital. I didn't even think to say like, okay, but don't tell anyone yet. He was so excited. He was ready to tell everybody. I'm like, oh my goodness.
That's
and
sweet.
You know how you have that period of like, okay, we got to wait and make sure that this is going to stick. So anyway, I was very happy to kind of hold the news and let things happen and kind of gather my bearings, thoughts about how I felt about all of it. And it took me into the second trimester to really come around to the idea that this is happening. Of course, I'm not seeing much, so I don't really know what's going on. I'm not seeing any changes in my body. I didn't really have strong adverse reactions to food or morning sickness or anything like that because people kept preparing me. Yeah. And I'm like, well, one day it's going to click that this is real. And I didn't really get there until I started to show. Anyway, so it did take me quite a roller coaster journey of like preserving my life like trying to get things in order and getting everything accounted for in preparation of announcing it. And then, once I did announce it to clients and we got everybody on board, I was full speed ahead of planning for maternity leave. Like every day is crucial. Not only do I have a timeline of when my little bundle of joy is going to arrive, but also every day is crucial for me to get something done for my clients. Yeah. And so I was working late nights, early mornings, getting as much done as I possibly could, knowing that selections still needed to be made. Things still needed to be in order to keep our contractors moving. So it was crunch time for me then.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and I love how a new baby or the thought of a new baby just totally disrupts your life, right? I love how they disrupt, especially those of you that are so used to being predictable, right? And having that predictability in your world, and all of a sudden nothing's predictable, right?
And I'm just grateful that there wasn't so much disruption that it prevented me from keeping the momentum, because that was something else I was preparing for. It's like, well, if I have to go on bed rest and I didn't prepare for that and I lose a month, and I can't go out to my job sites and check on the progress of things or be making decisions with the contractor and the client. That's all on me. That's of course we found a way to work it out, but those were all the things that I was thinking about.
Did you have an assistant?
No, I thought about bringing someone in, and then it kind of overwhelmed me of how do I manage another person when I'm trying to manage what I'm feeling. And so I kind of went back and forth with that, but I definitely leaned on help with bookkeepers and, trying to send out as much admin work to my resources that I could. And I am very, very grateful for the vendors that I work with locally. The showroom, my plumbing showrooms, my tile vendors, everyone was super, super accommodating with getting me samples, drop shipping things to me so that I didn't have to go run out. I could be as efficient as I possibly could, and just being very aware of my time frame, that they were responsive to that.
So that brings up a question for me. So being really a solopreneur, right? A female that is now pregnant, would you now, having gone through that, would the advice you would give other women be to get an assistant or get help? Looking back, do you wish you had done it differently, or did you feel like you could handle it all, and because you had good vendors and a good support network that way?
That is a good question. I think it kind of depends. For me, it was where I was with my projects. If someone were in my position with the same exact time frame, I felt like I was able to kind of juggle what I need to. Things naturally happen. Like I had one client that I was preparing would need furnishing right around the time that I'd be going on maternity leave. And so that puts a little bit of a crunch of, I don't want to be ordering things so far in advance that they're having to pay for all the storage, or things get discontinued by the time it comes around. There is a challenge to going too far early. And then that also pushed some of the work that I had planned to do with other clients. It changed my priorities. Before I could even worry about it, the time frame changed. So it happened that quickly that they decided to go with a different contractor. That contractor needed time to onboard. So all of a sudden I gained the 3 months of my maternity leave that I could join back in January without feeling like I needed everything to be tied up. So to answer your question, I think so many things can change in construction, and it depends on the clients, but I never want to be the person that's standing in the way. And so I would to do it differently. If that project hadn't shifted, I would have hired somebody and had help. Yeah. And I would have had somebody working on, whatever XYZ tasks that I felt like I could healthily delegate. And then the things that I needed to be responsible for, I would knock out. But
yeah. Well, just as I'm hearing your story, there might be people in other industries that, a lot of times we're afraid to ask for help. Right?
Absolutely.
And so I'm just encouraging, and I know I think you mentioned that you don't have a lot of family nearby too.
Correct.
So I think, it's really important that we tell everybody you don't have to do it alone, and that you can definitely, it does take a village, as Mrs. Clinton once said. So definitely feel like you can lean on people, even if it's a temporary.
That is an excellent point. So having retrospect of now having the baby, going through all of the burnouts that I've experienced over the 3 months of her being here on the outside, I definitely recognize I was muscling through some things that I probably didn't need to. Yeah. Burning on both ends without really needing to go through that. So you're absolutely right. I could have ask for help if I were not so,
Prideful.
strong-headed about it.
Yeah.
That I could have asked for help. And my sweet husband, he did run to showrooms for me and grab some things for me if I knew he was going to be in the area. I text him every once in a while, like, I have something by, your office. Can you grab it for me? So there were different things like that I wouldn't normally ask for help.
Yeah.
And then you realize, for me, I know this isn't everyone's experience when they're pregnant, but you do have a finite amount of energy in a day.
Right.
And it changes from trimester or month to month. And so I did start to notice as I got closer to the end, what I planned for in a day was dwindling and I'd need to take a break. Yeah. You have more doctor's appointments, and then that eats in. True. Yeah. And I remember I was sitting in the doctor's office. This is when I first found out I was pregnant. It was maybe my second trimester. I was in for my checkup, and there was a woman with a laptop furiously typing and working, and I could tell she was working on a deadline, and she was very pregnant. And I suspected it wasn't her first child, but she was like down to business in the office. I was like, wow, I want to be like that. I got to bring my work with me. I'm sitting here for half an hour. I might as well be productive. I never did that. That never happened.
Didn't bring it with you.
It's a nice break. I'm going to just sit here. I'll take a snack.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? There's something to be said for being present too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being at those appointments and just, taking that little time out for yourself to clear your head or whatever. Yeah, I think that's important too. So was there a moment when you realized, I can't do life the way I used to?
It's happening now.
Yeah, this is the time, right?
Yeah. So I am a very, I'll say, well-rounded person. I like to be well-rounded. It's a blessing and a curse, I think. I like to be involved in a lot of different elements because my personality, I like to be diverse, I suppose. I have my creative mindset. There are things that fill that bucket of creativity and inspiration. And then I need an outlet of my physical activity that kind of burns out a different mentality. I can overthink too much. So being physically active allows me to kind of shut down some of that overthinking and overanalyzing, the stress relief. And then I have, some socialization activities and groups that I like to be a part of. And as you mentioned, I don't have family here. So these are my communities. This is my village I've created with the different
groups that you
Correct.
Participate in. Yeah.
Correct.
And we didn't mention in the intro, but you are a coach for lacrosse.
Yes. Right? At Sarasota High School. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So, those women must just love
the new baby. I adore her.
Yeah.
I came to practice yesterday without her. Big mistake. Big mistake. Oh my gosh.
Where's Paisley?
Yes. Where's Paisley? Yeah. Where's Paisley? I said, well, I'll drive home and I'll pick her up. Leave her here. She can coach you and I'll go back.
Yeah. So what's been hard about? So you said that you can't do life the way you used to. What do you find is shifting for you?
I think the biggest thing for me is it for my family? My husband and I talk about this a lot. Making decisions that benefit our family. And what does that mean and look like? We kind of butt heads a little bit with what are selfish decisions. Right. Some things I need for me to get through the postpartum timeframe. Yeah. I need to feel like me. I don't like saying that I put my identity in work, but it is a business that I created. Frond and Fern Design is me. It is what I'd like to be a legacy. Yeah. And it's something that I feel very passionately about. However, I can set it aside from me. If I needed to put it down or if I moved or something, I know that it would be able to transform and mold as time went along without me really, needing to rely on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So going back to your question, what is considered a selfish decision to kind of preserve me as Christiana? And what is a decision as Christiana, new mom, looking out for the safety of my daughter? And so I struggle with that a little bit. Coaching is definitely something that I've just always envisioned my daughter being a part of. I've seen many wonderful role models, coaches, friends that have done the same with their children. And it was always something I respected. And I think there is a level of respect among women when we see them doing something really hard, but they're doing it because they see the benefits long term as opposed to the immediate. And that's what I see. That I see my daughter seeing young adults, girls that I'm coaching. She gets to see them in that stage, getting to be around these girls who are strong, confident, they're figuring out the hardest years of their life. Teenage years are hard. So she gets to witness that. And then she gets to witness mom being a coach and being a leader. And she gets exposed to this whole environment that she never would just being at home with me,
right,
or in daycare or something. So
yeah, and I think it's fabulous you're able to give that to her, because as a mom of two myself, what my daughter, who is now 24, says to me is, you were such a great role model growing up, and they are always watching you. They're always watching to see how you react,
right?
And the most important thing I think you can give your child is time. So the more time she can spend with you, watching you do the things you love, the happier she's going to be.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
that's part of the catch-22, I think, because I feel like she's in vicinity of me. She's nearby, but she's not necessarily getting my undivided attention.
right.
But it's for 2 hours of a couple times a week. It's not like I'm dedicated every single day, but it's something that we get to be out in the sunshine, and the girls, my goodness, they really, I wasn't sure how they would respond. I was worried about her being a distraction, but we have a few injured players who have been very happy to push her around the track and the turf and put her to sleep for me. And they're all babysitters. So of course they're eager to help us, and they are getting exposure with families that they babysit for. So to me, it's a win-win.
Of course. Yeah.
And I know my husband and I, we talk about it back and forth, because he is also a coach, and he decided to take this season back from coaching, but he's on the board. So he is representing his beliefs and advocation on the board as vice president. So he helps with fundraising and different things. So he's still very much involved, but he's not in the commitment of practices and games. And I love being at practices. I love being able to help mold the girls, helping new players understand the beauty of the game. It's something I grew up with. So I'm from Maryland originally, and I kind of compare it to, ice hockey for Canadians. It's like a religion for Marylanders. So it's something that I do hope, when we go up to Maryland with Paisley, I mean, she's going to be exposed to how I was raised. And my husband, born and raised in Sarasota, he played from first generation of the teams here. So it's very much a part of our life. So she will be exposed to it one way or another.
She'll be exposed to lacrosse.
Yes, yeah. And so anyway, I'm digressing from your question, but the main thing is just making sure I'm making decisions that benefit our family, and not making them because it may make me feel good for that moment in time. I have to be really careful in how I make decisions, because there are so many things that I used to balance myself out. But now I wouldn't say I'm a new person. I'm shedding some layers. Old me is having to give some things up. Happily, I am, because it means I get to spend more time with my daughter. Relationships are kind of changing, prioritizing different friendships, or even family. Conversations with family has kind of changed, and how frequently I reach out to people. So I'm kind of pivoting, and what I've described it to my friends who haven't had children is that it really is a new role with new duties, but you're trying to preserve the old in a way. Where some people might see old you, new responsibilities, they don't see that your hardwiring has changed. They're not seeing the internal changes.
Right.
As a mom, your brain is totally rewired. Your sensitivities are different. You're just aware of so many different things that you weren't before.
Yeah, but again, I think we're ever evolving. Like, I love that quote, the only constant is change. So we're always changing, we're always shedding, and we're always growing. So yeah, you're in a new chapter of your life, and now you have this new role, a new label, really. Like, I think we have all these, I guess, roles we play as mom and wife and lacrosse coach for you, and all of these different roles. And it's like, okay, now I'm in this new role, and you're not quite sure, because there's no manual, like, right, what is okay and what isn't. But I also want to give you permission to be a little selfish. It's okay. It's okay to be true to what you need. You don't need to give up your whole self, because now you have this little person in your life. Like, she's an extension of you.
Right.
So I just want to encourage you to remember that your partnership, right? I mean, all three of you, you're one unit, but you don't need to give up Christiana just because you now have this beautiful Paisley.
I needed to hear that.
You don't have to give that up. Not only do you not have to, but you shouldn't.
Yes.
So she needs to see that you're not.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah. She needs to look
that
at mom.
There's the mom guilt right there, right?
There's the mom guilt. But like I said earlier, like my daughter, and you're not going to get this gift for many, many years.
I know. Even when she starts talking, it's still going to be, I need more.
Well, because they're selfish little humans, right? I mean, because they have to be for survival, right? They're me. But you have to hold on to your identity. And within the context of your relationship, you know, you need to make sure you continue to have date nights and make sure that your partner comes first, because your children grow up and they leave, right? But you're going to make sure your partnership is solid. So anyway, that's my parenting advice for this. There you go. All right. So let's see. We talked about well, maybe we haven't. What do you think the hardest part has been about juggling both roles? Well, you've got 3 roles, but running the business, being a mom, what do you think has been the hardest part about it?
Well, we started to touch on it with the partnership. I think the hardest has been on my marriage. I mean, honestly, it's just, we miss each other. We really miss each other. We kind of joke, and I'm sure everyone has a version of this story. You know, even when you get a dog, it's like you're infatuated with this cute little dog and you're talking in the puppy voice and everything. Yeah. And so now the babies come along and you're infatuated by this baby and you're having baby talk with your sweet little one that you can't be separated from. And so I won't say that my husband is jealous of our daughter, but he definitely misses being able to share one-on-one time with me. And that's something that with all the things, it's like, okay, you got to schedule it in. You got to figure out how to make time for it. And even our date nights, like we really have been adamant about, okay, we got to have at least one date, even if it's carry out, just like setting aside the time that we get to have a meal together.
Just connect.
And actually look at each other over a table. And of course that changes when you have an uncooperative little one, a baby. Maybe your table isn't ready in the half an hour window that you were hoping it would, or she woke up while you guys were driving over and all of a sudden what you hope to be a quiet meal where she's napping, she's now wide awake and squirming, and one of us has to get up and take her outside or whatever. So that's happened to us where it ends up being frustrating, but we try to not be so serious about it. I constantly am saying to my husband, like, we gotta find fun. We can't take life so seriously, and work is serious and stressful, and we're so fortunate to live geographically where we do, to have weather and sunshine that is so conducive to being outside, and just it exudes joy, so we can go to the beach whenever we want. Even if it's a chilly day, it's still, it's better than snow. So, to like go do different activities where we can bring her with us, but still, hold hands on a walk or whatever, and do things that we enjoy doing. Like my husband loves to fish. We love to hike. We're big hikers. And so to take her on a hike with us, she can snooze while we're hiking, and we've got the dog with us. So finding things where we can relax and it not feel like work. I hate saying that parenting is work, but there is coordination that needs to happen.
And it is work, and relationships are work. I think people are naive if they think everything is just going to be hunky-dory.
No, I wish we could come up with another word though. It just makes it feel so heavy and taxing, I guess, when you call it that. But you're absolutely right.
Maybe it's a practice. Maybe, maybe you put together, practices that work for both of you, or, you come up with something creative and fun. But you know what? Also, like I said this before, you have to give yourself grace. You're so early in so new.
I can't burn out yet.
3 months. No, not the burnout part, but I think it's like there's an adjustment period, right? And if you have a second child, it'll be easier the next time. But this time, everything is new for all of you.
Yes.
Right? Even the baby, for all of you. So, I remember that in the beginning when, every time the baby would cry, you'd be like, I got to go get, something's wrong. Well, the baby can cry for a few minutes, right? Like if you guys are having a moment, then have your moment and the baby will be fine. So I think you just have to, but as a new mom, you want to attend to the child, right? And all of your focus needs to be. They need you right now. So, but it's all going to change. And like I said before, when we met, is a year from now, you're going to look back and go, wow, I can't even remember.
I know.
I can't even remember when she had colic or when she was doing whatever. It's
crazy how weeks feels short or long already. And one other thought I just want to throw in there is, with this whole balancing act, there's also expectations that need to be navigated. And I definitely have high expectations of myself, which is silly because I've never done this before. Neither has my husband. And to have expectations on anyone who is literally learning it as it's happening is just ridiculous. And I have to keep reminding myself that we are figuring out. It has been very humbling. And my husband and I have been holding each other accountable, on different things that, like, I'm trying to think of an example, but something that, you really would have been probably huffy puffy about if someone had done, like, I'm thinking dishes, I like to have a clean sink at the end of the night, not a priority anymore, and I am the one who are leaving the dishes in the sink. It's not my husband, it's me. Yeah. Whereas I would have picked a fight with him and said, why can't you just wash that one mug? You put it in the sink, just go ahead and put it away. So we have a fresh sink in the morning. I'm the one who's breaking my own rules. And so we have conversations about that sometimes where it's like, wait a second, you scolded me for this just a few months ago, but you're not following your own rules. And so we have to be just humble and figure that out. And I keep telling him as well as myself, forget about what was, we're moving forward. This is a whole new book that we're writing.
It's so true, like pre and post, right? Yeah, it's so true because you're right. But it's funny that we tend to hold our spouses, even now, to a higher standard oftentimes than we're willing to have for our own selves, right?
And I am like kicking myself right now because I'm sure he's going to listen to this and be like, what? I need to have this on replay and just, he's going to rub it in my face. I know, but it's true. And he deserves the kudos that he's put up with some pretty high standards from me. And that's just not fair.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, women are going through so we have our hormone shifts during pregnancy and post-pregnancy. So I think we go through a lot of emotions that men will never, ever understand. And our bodies have changed dramatically physically, right? So it takes a while to get our pre-baby body back and get rid of that baby fat or whatever. So I think that we have to hold on to, like, there are certain things that the female is going through that the male will never, ever understand. However, sleep deprivation, all of it, right? All of it, right? And if you're nursing, we've got that going on. So, you don't feel overly sexy. What once was, let's just put it out there, once was maybe more sexual and, attracting for your mate, all of a sudden it's being used to nourish your child, right? So now you've got, my body is a form of nourishment, and that's what it was designed for, frankly. But then it's hard to shift that gear if your husband now wants to fool around and they want that same sort of attention that you're giving your baby. So I understand there's like all this conflict that a man will never, ever, ever understand. However, that being said, where I was going with this is, men are also trying to figure it out for the first time, right? And they're trying to figure out, how do we support our partner through this when I want my wife, I want to fool around, I want to do all the stuff we used to do. And I can understand being a little jealous of having the baby around, And I think that shifts too when the baby can move and play. And then I think the men tend to get more involved because now all of a sudden they can play lacrosse with them and throw the ball or, read them a bedtime story and see them laugh and giggle and smile at them.
And how attractive is that for a mom to see your
sexy
spouse? Yes,
it is.
I love that. I know. I tell them, I was like, you have no idea how hot it is to see you put the baby down. Like,
right? I know. Damn, dude. Do the dishes. Do the dishes. That's fucking hot. I'm sorry. Like, if you're going to complain about her dish, do the dishes for her. That's hot.
Oh my gosh, you ordered dinner or you took care of dinner and I didn't even think about it or say yes. Like,
that's hot. Even now, I say that to my husband. I'm like, we're long past the baby age. I'm like, Dan, honey, make me dinner. Once in a while, light a candle, open a bottle of wine, have dinner. You'll get what you want.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's the little things, right? So What boundaries have you had to learn or still learning to protect your time and energy?
I am still learning them. I have a love-hate relationship with the word boundaries. During pregnancy and early stages of postpartum, I loved it. Now I'm having a harder time with it, I think.
In what way? That's cute.
And I'll explain to you, I think boundaries sometimes can be, it's a little bit too much energy for me to hold sometimes, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of good at seeing the boundary I want to set, but then implementing it. I don't want to come off as too harsh because my energy is limited. My hormones are still wacky. It can come off a little harsher than maybe I want. And I'm not trying to burn bridges with people, but I am trying to preserve myself, as you said. And that goes for social, professional. So, my emails might get a little bit shorter. I don't have as much pleasantry fluff. My text messages, my phone calls may be shorter. I may have to hang up on you because the baby's crying, things like that.
Okay.
So I spend so much time thinking and analyzing, and I don't really have the energy to be thinking about people's feelings when I set the boundaries. So it's like I was really gung-ho, like, oh, this, because our daughter came in October, we hit holidays, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. So it was a lot of navigating boundary setting for that because I had a pretty clear vision of how I wanted my Christmas to look. And my in-laws had a different vision. And my husband is in the middle trying to figure it out, protecting me and our daughter. We're trying to figure out a schedule. I felt like I was being a little bit of a stick in the mud by setting those boundaries. And I didn't really like how I felt placing them. Now that's probably something I need to practice and keep working through, but some of it felt a little bit harsher than it needed to. Like it was like a cold turkey, like we got to kick you out at this time or don't call me before this time. Sometimes, her schedule will fluctuate and I don't need to be so hard fast with boundaries. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
And I know that boundaries come in all different forms. It doesn't need to be like a communication boundary. It doesn't need to be around a time or a schedule, but those are the ones I'm reflecting on right now that I've been navigating. But things change so frequently. Like what we were saying with the date nights at dinner. It's like, well, if I said we can't go out to dinner after 7:00 because the baby needs to be in bed by then, she's changing so quickly. What I may have just created a boundary around could pigeonhole me and she prove me wrong and say, yeah, I'm not going to bed. And we could have had a really nice dinner, but I set this boundary too harshly. So I try to find loose boundaries that I'm willing to set. There are several that I've kind of communicated with my husband that I think we're still flushing out. A lot of it has to do with closing loops. I feel like that's a buzzword also. We were talking about mental load being a buzzword and then having open loops for women. We just want a task to be closed. I mean, I think really everybody thinks this way. Men think this way also. They just may not verbalize it this way. But closing a loop, like knowing that a task is done. For example, going back to the dishes thing, if the loop is still open and there's a glass in the sink, like my mind, I'm thinking about what is not really done.
Right.
And sometimes I have the energy to fight that battle. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And
it's such a small thing in the big scheme of things.
I know,
right?
it's
and we
so
make it
silly.
So big.
It's so silly. So that's why with the whole boundary thing, like if there were a boundary to say, okay, we get our housekeeping chores done before we go to bed, like I need help with that. There may be a boundary around that, like we shouldn't be turning on watching a movie until we've gotten everything kind of tidied up so then we can just pass out and go to bed. I have to be a little bit more flexible with that, and some loops just aren't going to be closed the way that I want them to, and I have to let go of that. So
yeah, I know, right? You got to focus on the bigger picture.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I think you did. I think too, though, I mean, were there any boundaries around work or anything around that?
Well, with work, I don't know if I've been super, super clear about my boundaries. I've kind of made quiet ones to myself. I'm just wanting to be more respectful of everybody's time, just in general. And I'm not speaking about myself because if I have to change her diaper while I'm with a client, they're going to have a little bit of grace for me too. And I don't take my daughter with me all the time, but sometimes my clients want me to. I get excited. Of course, everybody wants to see a baby, but generally she's been pretty good. I've taken her out to job sites and her chest carrier, she hasn't made a peep. We've gone out to a few visits, and she's been awesome. And actually the guys really on the job site get really excited to see her. So there are some times where it's like, it's life, you know, she's with me. You guys need me to be out there. You need me to show attention to something. This is the caveat. But I also want to be respectful of my clients' time, that they're not feeling like they're having to watch me babysit or watch me mom while I'm really there professionally. And so I struggle with that as well. I would say, again, going back to what is best for my family and what is selfish. I am a professional person. That's very important to me. That's one of my core values but there's transparency and authentic response that needs to happen as a mom, and especially clients who have children or maybe they're newly grandparents, they totally get it. They can relate and they totally understand. They're asking me, to be nicer to myself as well. And they're telling me, offer yourself a little bit more grace, because we've all been there. So anyway, and everybody has that one memory of somebody who was maybe a jerk to them while they were trying to go through this motherhood thing. And that sticks in their mind. And so they do a public service of not repeating that,
Yeah. And I love that you can write your own story with this. You can just write your own story. Nobody's telling you how to do it, so that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So were there unspoken expectations that surfaced once the baby arrived? Maybe that's more for your husband and you.
Well, I really do think that men are not educated on what we're experiencing. And I don't mean the physical changes, because some of that you can see, but internally, because I'm learning it still. Even people who warned me or told me about it, I didn't understand. If somebody says mom brain to me, that just seems like, okay, you might space out a little bit, you might be forgetful, but I really did not understand what that meant and how quickly just my coordination even fails being sleep deprived.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't tell you how many dang things I've dropped. I'm like, what is going on? Like, how many things I've knocked over?
Just because you're tired.
Yes. And it's funny, I've heard people say, don't cry over spilled breast milk. And I think about that all the time when I'm like, oh my gosh, I just dumped it everywhere. Like that was precious. I spent so much time sitting, pumping or whatever. And so it's funny to me to think all these things that you can spell it out and try and prepare somebody, but oh my gosh, they're going to have to figure out how bad it really is, or I guess I should say how difficult it really is on their own.
And every woman experiences it differently. I didn't have any postpartum depression or any of that. So everybody has different experiences.
And there's an inner dialogue. So if you are not self-critical, and maybe you're not like me, or you have a really good support system where you can get that needed sleep plugged in every once in a while, or maybe your husband is at home and able to help. He works from home, and so you're able to tag team a little bit differently. So everybody does have a different dynamic process of how they go through it. But I definitely had high expectations of myself getting back to a normal. And I realized recently, or I'm realizing it now, I'm not going to be going back to a normal. I'm creating a new normal. As you said, I'm writing my new story. And I will try and hold on to elements, but it will never be the same. Like I was thinking the other day while I was coaching, I had Paisley with me. My coaching is never going to be the same as it was, because my mind is divided. The girls I'm coaching are getting elements of me, and they're getting my expertise and bits, but they're not going to get my undivided attention the same way that they did before. Even if I don't bring my daughter with me to practice, there'll be occasions that she doesn't need to come. But I'm still a different person, how I talk to them is different. I noticed that I'm much more maternal to them.
I was going to say you're probably softer.
Whereas before I was like, no, I'm your teammate out here. I'm looking out for you as a teammate, and I'm not your buddy. I'm not your parent. But I'm your teammate. I'm out here and I'm going to call you out on things because we're a unit and a team. Whereas now I see it much more of, these are children. These are kids that my daughter will be in this position, and what type of coach do I want to be? Yeah. So
They're looking for your guidance. They need your guidance and your leadership.
And it's funny, they actually have been asking some pretty good questions about, it scares me that they're even thinking about motherhood that way.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's because of the babysitting thing, but the girls are asking really good questions, you know, like, how is she sleeping? How is she doing? They want to know, they want to get insight. And I think back, you know, I never really had anyone in my life that exposed the newborn stage. I feel like, you know, you go into hibernation during newborn infancy stage, unless you have multiple children.
Yeah.
Because eventually it's like,
no big deal.
Yeah, everybody's airing it out. But all of my friends who had children in the last, you know, several years that I've been able to witness, you know, the transformation of friends or relationships with starting a family. I feel like I missed that first 9 months. I don't really know what happens because they go into hibernation. They're trying to figure it out. They're not really exposing their skeletons. And not to say that I want to be doing that either, but I think it's still helpful. So us having this conversation, I'm hoping someone out there finds this helpful. And of course, leaning on a village or a group of people. I learned I didn't know how to ask for help, like what help I could get. What do I need to do? Like, what is necessary for me to do for my daughter? And what can I pass out? And I didn't know what that looked like or what that meant. And so it took me a while to figure that out. And then now here, I'll keep going with the lacrosse discussion. I can take her to practice and I have these teenage girls who are able to push her around, and it relieves me of stress. And I see that they're having fun. My baby is safe and healthy. It's a great experience for all of us. Whereas I could be at home taking on the burden myself and just, you know, being isolated.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I love that. You're building that community. I think it's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. So we talked a little bit about, you brought up mental load. What does mental load look like in your daily life?
Let me think about
besides your brain fog that you mentioned. Yeah.
Well, scheduling. That was a big one I was not really prepared for. And what I mean by scheduling, I mean, when did she wake up? When did I feed her last? How long was she asleep?
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. You know, just kind of keeping tabs of a clock and being aware of those details, that I'm not failing her or missing a cue or something like that. So that was a really big mental load item. And it's something I don't really think my husband has understood either, because I spend all day with her. So I'm keeping tabs of like every 2 hours, okay, how many ounces, I'm planning in when I pump. You know, there are all these things that you have to plan around and make sure that she has everything that she needs. And then if I go somewhere, she has what she needs. And then communicating that to someone else and helping them help out in any capacity. They need to understand that schedule as well. So that's a big part of the mental load. And then you sandwich in work. So I have my schedule with that. I mean, trying to problem solve on the fly, which is something I do. It's my job. Yeah. You know, I need to be able to come up with creative solutions and to pair all those things. I'm not as quick to resolve things. My go-to response has been, give me a few minutes. Let me ponder this over. I need to percolate. I need to let it marinate. Let me get all of my pieces together so I can make an educated resolution, as opposed to me being able to problem solve right away. And I'm a verbal processor, so I like to talk things out. And again, going back to respecting people's time, I'm not going to assume someone's in a position where we can discuss something through. Usually people are just looking for the answer. They don't want to hear how I get to the answer.
How you get there, right? Yeah.
So thankfully, Paisley's a good listener. So I will talk to her through a lot of my problems. So anyway, that's something else that's like that demand, and I know that I need to be prompt with it, factoring that all in.
Have there been moments when you felt like you were unsure you were quote unquote doing it right?
Yeah.
Every day, right?
Yeah. Right now. Am I doing it right now? I don't even know. Yeah.
24 years later with my youngest, I still.
My goodness.
Am I doing it right? Have I messed her up for
I joke. I don't joke. I'm actually very serious when I say this. Like, who decided I can be a parent? Like, who put me in charge?
It's so true.
That tag in a more responsible person to be doing this. That's more, who knows what they're doing.
Right. Did they check my credentials?
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Give me this poor child.
But when she smiles, when I walk in the door, come and check on her, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I fretting about? It's the best.
Perfect.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, and I'm sure that going back to the whole dynamic of a partnership, I'm sure my husband has, moments of that, but he's not going to expose that. Men aren't going to admit that, am I doing it right? I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And of course, default parent is kind of like the term that ends up happening with new moms. It's like, well, you're the one with all the goods. You're the default. So if she's crying, she's coming to you. So I think that men just assume that we know what we're doing because we grew the baby and we have we're the vessel or whatever. But there's so much that I doubt. And the whole element of mom guilt, I mean, there's so many elements to that, so many layers that you can unpack that I know we don't have time to go through even a quarter of them of what I've experienced in these 3 months. But I don't believe a man really understands what that feels like to have guilt about everything. Like going to take a shower, you feel guilty because you're happy you're away from your baby for a few minutes, and you're able to just take a deep breath, but you're still listening for crying, and you're just divided in all these different places, but you don't quite feel like you're doing anything right.
Yeah.
And the way that I described it to a friend is, they're like, so how is motherhood? Like, how's it going? And I said, everything is depleted. My mind, my body, just everything is pretty much trash. But my heart is fuller than it ever has been. And,
yeah.
How do you explain that to someone who doesn't have a child? They're never going to understand it. But I couldn't imagine the growth of my heart over such a small period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know it will continue. I see her do her firsts each time. Gosh, wow.
I know. It's just a whole world of wonder. It really is. It's a beautiful thing to watch. I love watching my kids become the young adults that they've grown into. It was just magical for me. So I'm really glad that I always say I participated in their journey. I participated in it. They took the journey.
Yeah.
I just got to be a witness to it.
And that does take a little bit of pressure off. Like, am I doing it right? Aiding them. I mean, obviously I'm keeping her alive. I have a very crucial role now, but that won't be the case forever. And she is an individual. Someone corrected me the other day. We were trying to decide if she looked more like me or my husband at this point. When she was first born, very much my husband. But then there are elements, like I'll take a picture of her, and when I look at the picture later, I'm like, wow, she really looks like me. Yeah. But at the time I took the photo, I didn't think so. So there are different moments I catch that she kind of morphs, that she looks like me or my husband. And I said, well, she does have blue eyes. My husband has green eyes. She has blue eyes. And obviously newborn babies tend to have a denim blue eye as they're born, and then it changes. But now her eyes have changed to a lighter blue.
Okay.
And that can change it, I think, all the way up to a year, if I'm remembering correctly. So she has a lot of time that it could change. Her eyes could change color. I was saying, well, I think she has my eyes, but that's about it. And the person corrected me. They said, she does not have your eyes. So what do you mean? They're blue. My husband has green eyes. She goes, those are Paisley's eyes. Those are not your eyes. So then I was like, oh, wow. Okay. I need to think about this differently. Yeah. Why am I trying to find puzzle pieces of me and her? She's Paisley. Her. She's Paisley.
Her. That's right. She's her.
She's not Mama. She's Paisley. Yeah.
No, I mean, and again, I think, like you said, we can guide them. We can influence them if we have them around lacrosse enough. Mm-hmm. There's a good likelihood that she'll want to try lacrosse. Mm-hmm. But there's also a chance that she hates lacrosse, mm-hmm. and she wants to play the saxophone. Mm-hmm. Or whatever it is, mm-hmm. right? And so I always said it's my job to nurture them, to make sure they're safe, mm-hmm. you're right, mm-hmm. but to encourage them to become whomever they're meant to be, right? And support mm-hmm. that journey along the way. So that's why I say that way. It's just been a really gift to watch them become who they're meant mm-hmm. to be. And we give them confidence, hopefully, because mm-hmm. they know they're safe and loved, right? Yes. So they get to explore. It's awesome. It's just I can't imagine not being a mother. Motherhood has been the best thing in my entire life. So, and I will say about your husband, I just want to go back to that a little bit. So I had another guest on the show towards the end of last year, and she is a badass corporate woman, works for a large wealth management firm. She's a badass. She always has. Her husband is also, a very, I guess, well rounded man, I guess, in his career as well. So they're both career driven people. And she tells a story about one time her daughter had to be taken, they had a carpool or whatever for taking her to Girl Scouts or something. And the mom was away traveling on a business trip. And the daughter calls and says, "Hey, who's doing carpool today?" And she's in another state. And she goes, "Well, isn't your father there?" And she goes, "Yeah, Mom, but he doesn't know anything." Right? And she goes, "You know what? You're right. He doesn't know anything. And that's not a diss on my husband. That was just, women are so wired to be multitaskers and to take care of the scheduling and make sure the feedings are happening and make sure your whole family, gets dinner at dinner time, or, so we are making sure that everybody is taken care of, and in our minds or schedules, however you do it. Men, though, like she said, my husband would happily have taken her, but he needs to be told.
I know.
He's not going to think himself the way we do.
This is so real for me.
Yeah, he's not going to think the way I do, that these things need to get done.
Well, and my gosh, that is so true. I literally was thinking about this last night. I was like, why isn't he more aware? Like, he has eyeballs. Can he see what I'm seeing? I mean, it's like the joke, like, where's the ketchup in the fridge? It's on the door. I don't see it. You go and you find it on the door.
Right. It's right there.
Yeah. So, I struggle. Of course, again, we're compounding all the things. It's the end of the day. You're tired. You're hungry. Yes. Yeah. And you just fought your 3-month-old to go to sleep. And anyway, so.
And now your husband's being needy and he's acting like another child.
I know. And it just feels like you're managing. Yeah. Managing. And that has been the word I've kind of been using in tandem with the boundary conversation, is that it just feels like a lot of managing. And even with the dog, it's, gosh, the dog won't leave me alone, but she's trying to tell me something, and I'm holding the baby, and why isn't she going to my husband? He's right there. It's just so funny because we are responsive. I think there's a book that's called this. Men are like waffles, women are like spaghetti. Have you heard of this before?
No,
I might be saying it wrong.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah, there's that book. Anyway, if it's a saying or if I'm saying it wrong, you understand the metaphor there. But women touch every thought. Like, everything is jumbled in and it's intertwined, and your whole day, you're making your cup of coffee, but you're thinking about what you have to make for dinner at the end of the day. And you've got all these things intertwined. Whereas a man, the syrup fills that one square of the waffle and then the other square of the waffle, and it doesn't, bleed. We have this concept of all these open tabs. Men can have maybe 2 or 3 tabs open. Women, it's like you have 50 and they're all open at once. It's not open one, close one. So anyway, that's how I feel on a constant roundabout of like Groundhog's Day, of just like having all these tabs that constantly flood open. And there isn't really a delineation from day to day either. It's just kind of like a blur of get things checked off. And I'm constantly thinking about work or the baby or the next thing that's coming up, whatever commitment is coming up. And I look at my husband and he looks very content, not thinking about anything.
You're not alone. I think a lot of us women, I got so resentful towards my first husband during this period of our lives because it was so hard. You're like, oh my gosh, I am taking care of everyone. I need someone to take care of me.
Right.
Just think. Be like, I've got the baby tonight. I'm going to go, you go take a bubble bath. As a matter of fact, let me draw you that bath. Let me bring you a glass of wine. I'm going to take care of it for the next hour or two because I can see. You know what I mean? Just to be that
awareness.
Yeah, the awareness, the attention, and just be like, okay, you need a break. But I think they're not wired the same way we are. And then, of course, he would say, well, if you asked me to, I would be happy to.
Which is very sweet of them to say.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, you're not asking me to make dinner or go grocery shopping, but I'm doing it. It shows up. It's there every day. Yeah, that would be my do you not see what, but and I can understand your frustration because it's a male-female thing.
Well, and one other comment I will add to that is, of course, social media does not help.
Yeah. Because
you have all of these comparisons in your face of this family looks like they're completely happy working this out together. And I remember I saw a reel of a husband helping his wife with postpartum recovery. And it was something like, it was like a little reel of like him setting up the bathroom, which I won't get into all the details in case it's too graphic, but as a woman, you are preparing yourself a little bit differently in the restroom. You have your little, witch hazel pads and different things. And you're having to clean a lot more frequently than normal. Anyway, so he was setting this up for his wife.
Wow.
In the bathroom.
That is
like
something.
Her little ice pack and the witch hazel. And I'm like, I would freak out if my husband did that. I'd be like, I don't want you touching this stuff. But second of all, I'm like, shame on, I kind of felt like shame on him for like putting that out there, that that's something a husband should be doing, or that, you know, because like, of course you
sets the bar too high.
And I don't know, maybe that's, you know, a little bit too controversial, but I really didn't like that was put out there. I'm like, we already wish that our spouses or partners did more for us, but then to go that far, like he's like taking care of the baby, he made her a cup of coffee and it's all sitting for her, and he's like preparing the stuff for her in the restroom. I'm like, what in the world? I'm like,
husband of the year.
Yeah. And it was funny looking at the comments, because I'm like, there's no way that people are okay with this. And the comments I was reading, it was saying, how long did it take you to edit this reel to put it up on Instagram when you could have been helping with the baby? You could have been doing a diaper change or whatever, you know? Yeah. So it's like, how much time did it take you just to record you doing this? Yeah. So anyway, I could go off to get an attaboy. Yes, good exactly job. Right. A pat on the back.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah, you're right though. Social media adds a whole new element that I did not have, thank goodness. So a couple more questions. What has motherhood taught you about yourself that you didn't know before?
Well, we did talk about this a little bit earlier, but it's don't take things so seriously. Right. You really need, so actually Paisley's middle name is Grace. It's a family name, but it is something I'm like, okay, we didn't just choose it. It is very intentional. And it is something I need to start living by. I keep saying, it's Paisley Grace. I got to offer myself grace. We need to live in grace. I need to be more graceful. And I don't want to be so hard. I mean, you can feel when your body, like things don't happen or fall into place naturally. You can feel there's resistance, or if there's stress or tension. And then when you kind of offer that grace, either to someone or to yourself, you start to feel those things fall into place. Anyway, sorry, I might be getting a little bit too woo-woo out on that conversation, but I do think that grace is a big element of something that I need to keep practicing to others, to myself, and certainly to other moms. I mean, I just going into Target and I see these moms with 2 kids, and there's a woman, she had to have been 9 months pregnant, and she had a toddler with her. And she was telling him, okay, you can only pick 2 toys. He had 3 in his hand. You can only pick 2. I think they were dinosaurs. You can only pick 2 dinosaurs. And he actually was very, polite about it. He said, okay, mommy, I'll pick two dinosaurs and we'll leave one here. And she snuck the 3rd on the belt. And she was right in front of me. And I almost wanted to be like, you told me to, like she forgot. She's not, like she's being so good with setting her. I wanted to be like, do you know what you just did? Are you following this? And so I just kind of was watching and observing while I waited for my turn to go through the line. And I heard them as they were walking towards the exit that he goes, Mommy, all 3 are in here. And she goes, I know, buddy. I got you all 3. You did such a good job today, as kind of an encouragement. And I just was thinking, I'm like, wow, what an idiot I would have been if I would have said something like she knew what she was doing. She was on top of it. I mean, talk about
that was a lesson.
Multitasking and everything. And I wanted to go say something to her, but of course I kind of chickened out. But if she's out there listening to that mom out there that was at Target that one day, it was just something that really enlightened me, that it's like, oh my gosh, you don't have to be so firm and you don't have to be so hard. And then I was thinking, gosh, what a sweet brother he's going to be to that baby, that he's going to be a sibling who wants to share. And I mean, I know that not everyone can have access. Having 1 toy is better than nothing. To have 3, wow. But I just keep thinking, sharing is something I probably wouldn't say was my strong suit as a kid. I was the baby. Yeah. So I didn't share as well as probably my older brother. And I talked to my husband, he's the oldest and he's a good sharer. So I always joke that I was like, I really hope Paisley gets your qualities of sharing, because I never really was good at that. So anyway, I see that grace could really benefit our whole family if I keep practicing.
I love that. So this could be the advice you want to give, but if you could give one piece of advice about staying connected during big life transitions, what would it be? Connected to self and connected to your family, however you want to interpret that.
Well, I think some people have like non-negotiables that they might discuss before the baby comes. Of course, that will change when the baby arrives. But I think there were some non-negotiables that I had told myself about my activeness. Like, I just love being involved in anything active. I swam while I was pregnant and worked out still through my pregnancy. And I told myself, I just feel better. It's a big stress relief for me. And I don't expect that for other people, but it's just something that gives me energy. Yeah. Refills my cup. And so that was something that I kind of told myself, however I can make it happen. And even just walking outside, it's always makes me feel better. So that was kind of a non-negotiable for me, is that no matter how crappy you feel or isolated you feel, you could be doing everything wrong, but allowing yourself to do something active and physical will be beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more, as a matter of fact. And the more we take care of ourselves, the better we're able to take care of those around us.
And plug in, it doesn't have to be active or physical activity. Plug in whatever that is for you as a non-negotiable, being creative, even if it's, I don't know, like binge watching something. Some people, it's like, I just really need to have that vegetation moment, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, for me, that's just a cup of coffee in the morning.
I was going to say,
give me 30 minutes.
Yeah, a cup of coffee with like a really close friend that they see you in this really ugly state, but just being seen by someone else, that could be a huge.
Or maybe even escaping in a good book, anything that is for you. Yeah, that feeds your soul for sure. All right, we're going to go into our speed round. You ready?
Okay.
Here we go. Do you drink coffee, first of all?
Yes.
All right.
Oh my gosh. How do you think I made it here, Sharon?
Reheat it, and how many times a day?
I drink it very fast.
So we don't need to reheat.
Well, I reheat. I give it, I think I do 2 is my limit.
Okay.
And I learned that quickly, that I was like, darn it. But now it's getting cold. So my hot coffee is getting colder. So I'm like, we got to chug it. And I actually just read something that they said with breastfeeding, that the caffeine is however, the wording, sorry, I lost the words, that it is incorporated into your breast milk, I think within 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it was like saying, the percentage and everything. And I was like, oh man, so I have to drink it early.
Yeah, otherwise she's going to be hyper awake all the time.
Yeah, because I am not cutting back the caffeine, that's for sure.
You're my kind of girl. I knew I liked you. I gave up coffee during my pregnancy. I did switch to decaf.
Oh my
I
word.
did. I didn't.
Good for you.
But I went right back to it, right when the kids were, after the kids were born. Yeah, and I don't even love the taste of it, because now I drink it black, but it's that, I don't know, it's just that habit of having
the routine.
Yeah, to me, it's very comforting.
And I will say, for me, I am not a big breakfast. I love breakfast food, but I don't like to eat breakfast first thing. Yeah. And you have so many windows between feedings, nap time, and all that. Yeah. So coffee gets me through to like lunchtime. I kind of need to, and I do put, some additives. I have a protein supplement I put in to kind of help me.
I should do
have
that.
some sustenance.
Yeah, that's a good idea. One thing that you swore you'd never do as a mom, but you totally do.
Pacifier.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm going to publicly apologize to the NICU nurses that I told not to give my daughter a pacifier. That as soon as I left the hospital, I gave her a pacifier.
Wow.
I had it in my head.
You're like,
I had it in my head. I was like, she is not going to have a pacifier. She's not going to need it. I don't want to worry about like dental development issues. I don't know what the heck I was smoking, but seriously.
Okay, so what was the moment when you said, give me the damn pacifier?
I'm probably in the car home from the hospital.
It didn't take long.
Oh, no, not at all. And I remember mom was like, I think you might want to buy 2 packs while we were at Target. I was like, no, we'll just get 1. And she's like, there's only 3 in there. And I was like, we don't need more than 3. I'm hiding these as soon as, as soon as she gets out of this phase. I don't know why I was so delusional. And you get...
Yeah, there's a reason they make those.
Yeah, of course. And of course, in the NICU, they're like handing them out. And I'm like, I don't hide them. I hid them from the nurses. I did. Because I was like, I don't want her to have this. She needs to...
Self-soothe.
And I don't know why in my head that was such a hard, fast thing for me. But now, thank God for pacifiers, holy cannoli. And now she has found her fingers. So she has her fingers to self-soothe, but she is very happy with the pacifier.
I am so glad you shared that. I love that.
And I feel terrible because they even wrote on the dry erase board in the NICU, like,
go pacifier.
Yeah, mom prefers no pacifier. Please use white noise.
You know, they really want to say, mom will lose her shit. Right? If you give her pacifier. Like, you wonder what these nurses really want to write on that
whiteboard. And
board.
I couldn't swaddle. Like, I don't know how to swaddle. I tried to learn how to do the old school. And my husband, like the burrito making. My husband's great at it. But if he's asleep and I was there, you know, figuring it out in the trenches in the middle of the night, I'm not going to wake him up and so that was another thing where it was like, okay, I'm getting the swaddle outfits, you know, they call them swaddles, but really it's a little like sleep sack. And so that was something else that I was like, I'm not going to get into the sleep sacks, but both of those were in the picture immediately.
Okay, so right now, at this point in your life, with you and your husband, night in or night out?
Right now, we're saying with baby.
You can have a babysitter. Your
I didn't think this would be so hard to answer. Typically, I would say I am more of a homebody now in this season of life. But honestly, I miss doing adult things out of house. So I think my final answer would be out. And honestly, I'm okay bringing the baby. I like taking her places. Fun for me to incorporate her into things we like to do or liked past tense to do. And we have such a pedestrian friendly
it's easy here
area. We love to go over to UTC and walk all the different restaurants and shops and stuff. And they're pretty quick eats. Like you can pop in and grab what you want, or if you want ice cream, something like that. So we've been doing things like that and I really enjoy it.
Okay. What is one word you would use to describe this season of life?
One word. Chaotic, I feel like, is a little cliche, but I'm going to go with humbling. I really do think that this season has been very humbling in the best way possible. I am so beyond blessed to have a healthy baby and to have created a job and a business that allows me to be with her and do my passion. And that, I mean, I never knew that would be possible. I wasn't even interested in it until recently. I would say humbling. And I see people differently. I see moms and dads differently. I see my mom differently. So it's all very eye-opening and humbling. And I am now recognizing, I'll call them role models, but they're dear, dear friends of mine in a different generation that I really hear them differently too. What they say resonates a little bit differently. When people give advice, sometimes you're not really ready to receive it, but certain people, and I see the way that their children have been raised, and I see that the relationship they have with their children, whether they're adults or still kids, and the opportunities that they've been able to provide for their children, it all appears very differently to me now.
Very good. What is the last time you and your husband had a real uninterrupted conversation?
Well, I can't think of, I know we've had several recently. We've had some pretty good ones, but the biggest one that comes to mind, we had a really nice conversation this weekend while Paisley was snapping. We were out eating lunch and we were kind of just talking about different things we wanted to make sure we held on to as we matured in parenthood in our marriage. How do we instill certain things so that we're not roommates in 5-10 years, whatever that looks like. And then the other memory I'm thinking of, or date night, I guess, my mom was very, very kind to take night shift for us when my daughter was first born. My parents were here for about 2 weeks. And so my mom was very insistent on, like, one of the last nights she was here, before I go back up north, I really want to be able to let you and your husband have a date night. So I didn't know how that would feel, because it's like you're aching and you want to be with your baby. But there was a piece that I was like, okay, this isn't going to be forever. You know, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm not going to feel that way forever. And so we were able to have a date night very early on, within days of her birth. I know it felt very different. Like, it probably didn't feel like a date night, But in the optics of people who were around us, they didn't know what we were going through. So it felt like we were able to, sit there and actually talk to each other as husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, as some, married couples call it, because we want to make sure that we're keeping each other feeling like you are my girlfriend or you are my boyfriend, because we're still putting in the effort. So I did get that feeling from that date. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. What is something small that instantly makes you feel like you again?
Working out.
Working out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Being outside and working out makes me feel strong. It just makes me feel more centered. Yeah. Final answer on that.
I love that. Well, Christiana, this was such a real and honest conversation. Thank you for sharing the parts people don't always post about, the stretching, the learning, the love, and the growing pains that come with building a life and a family at the same time. What I love about this conversation is a reminder that connection doesn't disappear in busy seasons. It just asks us to be more intentional. Whether it's 5 quiet minutes with your partner, asking for help, or giving yourself grace, all these things we talked about, those small moments matter. To everyone listening who's in the thick of a transition, a new baby, a new job, new season of life, you're not alone, and you're doing it better than you think. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who might need to hear it. And as always, thank you for being part of this community where meaningful conversation lives. Until next time, keep showing up, keep reaching out, and keep choosing connection. This has been Joy of the Hang. Till next time.